Just
the way I deal with technology is
right.
It doesn't work. I'm going to take it outside and stomp it, and I'm going to go buy something new. That's how I deal with technology.
I'm surprised you've had an Apple this long, then.
Oh, that's because Apple stuff works when you tell it to work.
Desi had some pretty funny issues with her Apple, her new shit.
You got to talk to me about my HP that I bought for school.
Yeah,
oh but God,
yeah,
stupid shit.
You've not ever used the Windows before, though, have you? Maybe when you were younger,
when I was a kid, yeah. But I mean,
so since you've been on a Mac this whole time, that transit, like if I were to jump on a Mac right now, I'd probably be like, what the hell is all this shit?
There's a reason why major music schools only exclusively use Macintosh, because they're better for audio and visual and
I won't lie, they are better for like They are the art computer, whereas like a Microsoft is more for
getting on business
and gaming. Really, Mac's trying to come up with the gaming, but they're still pretty far behind. But as far as like,
well, it's because they don't want their shit customizable. Is one big reason too.
Yeah, they want it.
I mean, all those fucking good DAWs and stuff for recording.
Yeah.
All the plugins for it, it's all almost exclusively written for Mac. They write it for everything else too, but it doesn't run the same. Yeah,
I've gotten a few. Since we started this podcast, I've kind of been dabbling in that kind of stuff. That's where I got that new one where it like kills all the background noise and stuff. Yeah. Last podcast I was listening to it and I was like, man, something doesn't sound right. And then I realized it wasn't the DAW, it was the actual settings on the microphone, because the mid and the high was just too high. And that's where that staticky, like, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's kind of staticky sound. And then I was just like, well, we can fix that. Now it should be good. We'll find out.
Well, the show before the show, we're going to talk about the cocktail recipe.
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of hard for people to pull off.
Yeah.
I named this The Return of the Jedi because it was the color of Luke's green lightsaber.
Yeah. It's pretty close.
The Return of the Jedi. It is fucking neon green, son.
Yours was more Yoda yellow, but Yoda green.
Mine was, a little bit more Yoda-like because I put a different type of moonshine in mine. Just had a little bit of a splash. I mixed moonshines. So mine was a little bit more piss yellow, where yours is neon. But it was because I just didn't want to waste the moonshine. Yeah. But it's just Malibu, homemade, real Coleman County distilled cotton candy flavored moonshine. Malibu coconut rum, pineapple juice, and OJ, and it's fucking excellent. It's a really good drink. Good luck finding that moonshine.
Yeah.
But if you want to make it, it's basically one part of everything, and then like 2 parts OJ on top. Yeah. So pretty fucking good.
It's very fruity. It's very easy to drink, which is dangerous. Yep. So
it is careful. It definitely has that moonshine. It was very, very stout by itself, but for some reason, when you mix good moonshine and things, it becomes
just smooth.
Yeah, extremely easy to drink. Like nothing in it whatsoever. We all was wincing and making pretty strong faces when we drank it by itself, but in the drink, it was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, the cotton candy one by itself was good. It was just hot. It was just hot.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably legit. I mean, it's not like 190 proof, like a lot of match to it, but it's, I mean, it's definitely over 50% alcohol. Yeah, it's noticeably alcoholic, like very, but it's good. And it's a change. We're not going to have more than one of these for our own reasons because I really don't want to drink anymore. And Nathan's in prep. So it is what it is.
Joe would probably say drink none, but you know, we'll be all right. We'll survive with just one.
You know, I know he's doing your nutrition now. You know, you should count this toward your carbs.
He is doing it starting next Monday.
So a week from tomorrow.
Yes. So he will be doing my nutrition for 4 weeks, the last 4 weeks of my prep while I'm off of work. So I'm basically letting him control my entire life for 4 weeks up until the meet.
I think that's what it takes.
I'm hoping that it yields some good results. I know my diet has been really good in general for the past several months. Well, really the past month is when I really started cracking down on it.
One thing, I mean, you had some back and forth on because you really wanted everything to taste good still was, did you not struggle eliminating some dietary fat for a little while?
Yeah. And it really boiled down to egg yolks and breakfast was really the hardest one because like I was already
an egg to taste like something.
Right. And then so going from 4 whole eggs to half and half, I felt pretty good about. And then it was, you need to go down to 1 egg yolk and 3 egg whites, no creamer in your coffee. So I just don't even drink coffee if I'm training that day. And 3 strips of turkey bacon and 2 strips with a protein shake and orange juice before I lift.
For the record, if you like cold coffee, you can do like Stoke black cold brew coffee and like half scoop of protein powder as your creamer. And it's pretty solid if you do something smart, chocolate or vanilla.
Right.
Don't do fucking birthday cake or fucking banana flavored in your protein in your
banana
flavor.
Coffee. Yeah.
Don't do that. But like it's a pretty suitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not huge on cold coffee. I will drink it occasionally if I'm desperate. But
I have a preference for it because hot coffee makes my blood boil in a way. Kind of pisses me off first thing in the morning. I definitely drink it in the wintertime, but most of the year I drink cold coffee.
I will drink hot coffee all the time. Doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees outside. I'll drink hot coffee.
Some people are just like that.
I don't know.
Most real coffee drinkers are like that. Yeah. Sandy's like that.
Yeah.
So it's just what it is.
But other than that, like, I feel like my diet's been pretty good because I stick to it pretty well. There have been a couple of times where I had, the fuck it's. Like everybody has at least 1 or 2. Yeah. And I just don't let it, I don't let it faze me. Like if I'm like craving something, then obviously I'm lacking something. Yeah. So like I can either be smart and like, I'm going to do something like fruit, which I eat fruit every day. Yeah. I eat a banana and an apple on every day that I go to work. Well, I guess I eat fruit 4 days a week. Yeah. And I try to eat vegetables every day. So I'll have like green beans and carrots. And I need to do another vegetable for my second or third meal this week. But I was kind of like, I fucked up my meal prep a lot. Just because I had plans for stuff, and as I was cooking, I was like, I didn't make this the way I was supposed to. I just got into a groove, and like we had visitors, so I was just like walking around and cooking, and just like trying to get it all done. Just didn't even pay attention, so I had to kind of improvise on the.
That's fair
on the meal prep. But
I'll start. Shout out to Grant Mims. That's somebody we haven't mentioned in a while. My old bodybuilding coach. Found his diet in my notes, and I'm starting it back tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. I'm about to eat more greens than my stomach can handle, so I'm about to shit a solid 8 to 10 times a day for the foreseeable future until my gut gets balanced. But his diet was the only one I could stick to, and I think it's just a volume thing. It's a disgusting amount of food volume. Yeah. It's all extremely clean. It's dairy-free.
It's like high density, low calorie.
Yeah, extremely. We're talking about 6 to 7, 8 ounces of meat per meal. For 4 meals a day, a cup of greens at 3 of them, 10 ounces of white potato at 1 meal, which is a lot of fucking potato.
That's a lot of potato.
I'm just going to do instant white mash. Good hack. If you like mashed potatoes better than other potatoes like I do, I just find them easier to palate. But you can get instant mash, mix them with skim milk instead of whole milk, and skip the butter. Consistency ends up being about the same. You still end up basically with like KFC mashed potatoes. Yeah. Macros are still really favorable, and they're easier to eat. But yeah, the food volume is stupid. So my breakfast tomorrow is 6 ounces of egg whites, 3 whole eggs, and 2 bananas. Right out the gate tomorrow, and that's pretty, especially if you scramble them. I'm big into drinking my eggs when I'm eating that many because it's less food volume because you don't whip air into it. Yep. But when you actually have to scramble them, like he's asked me to, that food volume's extreme.
Yeah, that's a lot. So it's a lot. 6 ounces and 3 whole eggs.
Yeah,
that's a ton of eggs.
That's a ton of eggs, and then every meal after that, 6 to 7 ounces of meat. Yeah, cooked weight. So you're talking about, a half a pound or better of meat at every meal. Yeah. I was successful on that because it put me in a deficit, and I just physically did not want to eat anything else. Right. So, and then, plenty of greens, which is intimidating because I don't like them. So we chose green beans this one. I think I'm going to do probably broccoli or asparagus next week. But man, it's just a lot of fucking food.
I actually like green beans, but the way I cook them,
I do French style only.
Yeah, French style green beans with some a little bit of oil and some garlic salt, and I fry them.
Yeah, that's probably really good. I would like that. I don't get the oil.
Yeah,
so
that's one of the compromises I make. Like, I feel like if I'm eating, if I'm putting myself in the position to eat more vegetables, I want them to at least taste good. So like,
yeah, I'm not picky
bit.
about vegetables, but I'm very picky about how vegetables are prepared.
Yeah.
And I would love to sit here and say, because I'm a proponent of this, that I could eat that volume of vegetables raw, but I cannot.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to, and like my greens, like leafy greens, are probably going to be collards and turnip greens and stuff like that, and not a salad.
Yeah.
Also, there's some temptation with a salad to overeat my fats because you have a tendency to want to use dressing when so it's actually helps me maintain my fat intake if I eat like a cooked green instead of,
instead of a leafy green.
Instead of a raw leafy green. So to get leafy greens in, they're going to be mostly collards, mustard, and turnip greens. Yep.
Have you done cooked spinach? Can you do it?
I'm not the biggest fan of spinach because it tastes like grass to me. I love every type of green. I love arugula. I love pretty much every type of lettuce except for iceberg. I don't like how tough iceberg is compared to, like, it gets weird, and I don't like the white parts of an iceberg lettuce.
Really? Because I love the crunch of iceberg lettuce.
I do not like. Yeah, I mean, the greener parts of iceberg's fine, but I do romaine much easier. All that weird shit. I'm trying to think about. There's one that's kind of peppery that I like a whole lot. I don't remember the name of it. Watercress.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, watercress is really good. It's in like mix. Like if you get like a spring mix or something, it's in mixes.
Is it the purple colored one?
No, it almost looks like more herbal. It's like a little stringier, and
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's really fucking good. But yeah, it's just easier for me to eat them cooked.
Yeah,
and my body doesn't process greens well. It makes me shit like crazy. So that's another reason why I'm kind of going to lean toward cooked greens.
Yeah.
So
just helps with digestion.
Yeah, as long as you're not cooking it in fucking a bunch of oil and ham hock and shit, like there's nothing wrong with turnip or collards or something like that. So that's what I'm probably going to do.
And if you just salt them, that goes a long ways. Like, that was the only way I could stomach eating, like when my mom would cook spinach, like she would have like the frozen spinach and she'd cook it and get it real hot. It's like the consistency is really like algae.
Spinach reminds me of, you ever watch the underside of your mower?
Yeah,
that's what chopped spinach or something reminds me, or cooked spinach reminds me.
It's the same texture. It really is.
I can't do it.
It's bad, but if you salt it, it's palatable.
What's crazy is I love spinach cooked in things. Like if it's in an Italian dish, if it's great as a pizza topping. Like all those kind of shit's fine, but.
Yeah, when you
by itself, I just can't fucking do it.
My mom makes stuffed shells, and she stuffs it with like cream cheese, mozzarella, and spinach. Yeah. And when you can't taste the spinach, it's great.
Yeah, when it tastes like cream cheese, it just looks a little green. You're like, I can fuck with
this is good. It kind of just looks like you sprinkled a little parsley on it or whatever, and that's all. But no, there's spinach in there.
The struggle's real. But yeah, that food volume is going to be ridiculous. And my last meal's it's protein ice cream, so it's like a scoop of peanut butter, 2 scoops of whey, fat-free milk, and some ice blended up. And
are you getting a Ninja Creamy?
Huh?
Are you getting a Ninja Creamy?
A Ninja Creamy?
Yeah.
No, I'm just going to blend it up with my Ninja. Yeah, I mean, I'll end up drinking it, but
right.
That's another food volume thing. I'd rather it be a little on the thinner side so I can drink it as opposed to sitting there with a spoon and having to dig in it for 30 or 40 minutes.
I will say I found this new. It's probably not new, but new to me. It's like a frozen yogurt ice cream bar. It's from like Yasso.
Yeah, we buy them. Yeah,
those are awesome.
Yeah, I wish that they were. They're actually pretty macro friendly.
They are.
But in that meal in particular, he wanted me to eat
dairy free
40 to 50 grams of protein. So
okay, so it's just not high enough protein for you to pair it with anything.
Yeah. That's the only dairy I'll eat. Probably is
like yogurt
at one time a day. Yeah. So
and I can do just about any type of yogurt. We'll do that's kind of like my sweet tooth thing now is like frozen yogurt and what was the other thing that we got recently that was pretty macro?
Those Jassos are fucking good.
They are, man.
Really, it tastes like a Bluebell ice cream bar, and it's like fucking better macros. It's like Greek yogurt.
Low calorie. Right? Yeah, it's Greek yogurt. So it's like 100 calories for one of them. and it's like the size of a regular ice cream bar, like maybe a little smaller.
I like popsicles too, and we do the man, what the fuck are those things called? Outshine bars. They're just like pure fruit puree, basically, and they're frozen.
I feel like excellent. I got those.
You get
before.
Like peach and pineapple and shit like that.
Are they in like a green box? Like
yeah,
a
they're in a green box. Yeah, they're so good. You can buy them with cream added, but they're obviously
higher.
Yeah. Wreck your macros. But yeah, I'm gonna start that diet back, and I think the best plan is the one you can stick to. And I was able to stick to his plan for 6 or 7 weeks.
It's pretty solid.
Uninterrupted, and that's really, really good for me. So we're gonna try it.
See what happens. Maybe you'll feel real good, and you'll just be like, well, because I feel good, I'm gonna keep eating this way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what everyone says about like diets with a lot of greens in them. They just makes them feel better. So
yeah, I think like I said, the biggest thing is don't get bored. Don't get if I don't get bored, I won't get hungry. So if I'm having to pound just tons and tons and tons of food, it's a little bit of a boner kill.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
It is what it is.
You won't be craving that cheeseburger when your stomach's bloating out.
Yeah, and the good thing is I'm not limited in red meat or anything like that.
Right.
Like for my 8 ounces of potato, 8 ounces of meat meal, we're doing shepherd's pie.
Okay.
So it's basically, half ground beef, half mashed potatoes. So I mean, like.
Are you putting any vegetables in it, or?
I'm sure it'll get peas and corn like it traditionally does.
Does it come with carrots? Do they normally do carrots?
Not peas and corn. It's peas and carrots.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. Not peas and corn.
I mean, if you want to put corn in, I'm pretty good about corn in anything, to be honest with you.
I mean, I am too. The thing about the corn in that though is that it's higher and it's going to drive your carbs up.
Yeah.
At a meal that I'm already eating.
Yeah, that's
10 plus
true.
ounces of potatoes. So. Yeah, that's the hard thing. But
you got some PR songs?
Absolutely. PR songs.
So I've got 2, and they are both new to me. So
all right, new stuff. Because that's better than what I'm going to do. You're going to laugh at mine.
So this one I just heard, and I don't even know if I've heard any other music from this band. Like I heard it on my Spotify. I liked it, and I don't know if I know anything else about them. But the song was pretty dope. It's called "Heaven Shall Burn" by Eminence. Have you ever heard it?
I have that downloaded.
I feel like
that's the title of a song I get a hard on over.
It's good. I like it.
And I like anything like
sacrilegious.
I do. Yeah.
Behemoth.
Anything that's talking about something satanic or about killing God goes to the front of my list like almost immediately. So I'm going to hit you with the really wild one first.
All right.
But this guy's underappreciated as a musician, and especially for metalheads is underappreciated. It's not metal. But there's just a darkness about all his music that I really, really appreciate. And it's really fucking crisp and clean in a weird dark way, but also kind of lo-fi and dirty in another dark way. It's just, the way he goes about his production is amazing. His bandmate was not particularly good in this band, but he's an awesome musician. But it's Blue Orchid by the White Stripes.
Okay, yeah,
it's fucking good. Well, Jack White's a fucking genius. I mean,
I've never really sat down and listened to him.
You wouldn't like the White Stripes, but you would probably like the Raconteurs.
Okay.
It's a little bit more. Metalheads can kind of relate to like Led Zeppelin or something like that a little bit better than they can other like rock music, but it's a little bit more in that a classic rock vein than the White Stripes is. So
yeah,
but yeah, Blue Orchid by the White Stripes is a fucking awesome song. That video is super fucking creepy and I love it. Like,
what is they have? The White Stripes has a really famous song. Do you know?
Seven Nation Army.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I feel like there was something else. My brother listened to the White Stripes. He was a fan of them. And there was a song that he would listen to, and I cannot remember the name of it.
Fell in Love with a Girl, whatever the name of the song is. I don't remember the name of it. But yeah, that was one of them that was really big. But yeah, Blue Orchid by the White Stripes.
Well, my second entry is going to be one that is... it's a lot more... I don't know why I've been getting into like new age metalcore lately. But like, it's like I don't know. It's weird because it's like clean vocals through.
It's because we grew up on All That Remains and shit like that.
Right.
Kill Switch.
But it's like, it's not the kind of new age metalcore is not the kind of metalcore that I really associate with metal.
Yeah,
like it's fair. Yeah. Like Kill Switch, All That Remains. Yeah. I associate that with metal, but this I don't it's got some hard parts to it, but it's not hard all the way through. But for some reason, I was listening in the gym and I was just like, man, this is fucking
So when it slaps, it slaps.
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking matter.
But it's called Anxiety by Of Virtue.
I don't think I've listened to them. That's a new one for me.
I feel like they're pretty new.
I listen to a lot of like Polaris and some old I Prevail sucks. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm trying to think. Wage War is pretty cool.
Wage War?
Yeah.
I've heard some of their music.
But I like stuff like that. So I could make that transition pretty easy probably.
Yeah.
So enter Zach Wild era Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay.
With I don't know how much you like this shit, but this is definitely like the beginning of heavy music for me and my listening. But I picked No More Tears by Ozzy.
Okay, yeah,
it's fucking cool. The bass line's cool. Zach Wild fucking rips in that song.
Zach Wild's just an amazing guitarist.
That song fucking rules. It's a heavy fucking song for 1990 or whatever it came out. So fucking like it, especially for a mainstream song. I definitely fucking, I mean, it's every bit of as heavy as, you know, I'm a real Metallica fan, and I think Metallica died with the Black Album, but that song is every bit of as heavy as anything on the Black Album.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. So, honestly. I guess it's just kind of like...
So all you fucking, you know, Enter Sandman fucking rednecks can eat shit, and you can listen to No More Tears because it's a better song.
I guess it's Hetfield's vocals that really make the difference, because Ozzy is always clean all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like in the power metal sense. So I like Iron Maiden and shit like that.
That's
so like
true,
Ozzy's not a jump for me, you know what I mean? So, and also I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan, so...
Yeah. Sabbath is good.
Sabbath is very good. I like some Ronnie James Dio Sabbath.
I haven't listened to a lot of Dio's Sabbath, to be honest with you. But I do like Dio. Yeah. I think Dio's amazing, but...
I mean, but yeah, that era of Ozzy was, I think, a little darker and a little heavier than previous years, so it is what it is. It's fucking good. So, got two old ones for me. One from 2003 and one from like 19... I want to say it's between 88 and 90, No More Tears is, so...
Does it make you feel old to say 2003 is old? Because it makes me feel old.
Listen, I gave up on that when they started playing Foo Fighters and Nirvana on classic rock stations. Like, stuff I remember the videos debuting for. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so I'm fucking over it. It's okay.
I guess it's just me creeping up on 30, and I'm just like thinking back, like, man, I'm a dad. All my music is old music now.
This stuff's not. I mean, not all of it's good, but there's just some really, really good, honestly, pretty heavy shit in the vein of like Stone Temple Pilots and Alice in Chains, and even some Pearl Jam and shit like that I really love dearly. And like, it doesn't feel like it should be classic rock either, but it is now.
Right.
Like,
oh, how far we've come.
Yeah, I mean, Soundgarden, like, there's some fucking heavy, some of that's fucking heavy, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. Stone Temple Pilots bass player, name escapes me right now, but man, some of that shit fucking rips. It just fucking does. Scott Weiland was a cheesy motherfucker, though. It is what it is. Yeah. But I mean, that was my education. So I don't, even being a metalhead, I don't feel too guilty about that shit.
That's fair. Like, I feel like if something is like, what's the word?
Pearl Jam would be the only one I felt guilty about a little bit. By far the cheesiest of the group.
They're okay. Like, I could be okay with Pearl Jam, like, occasionally.
Yeah.
Like,
there's only so much Eddie Vedder a man can handle.
It's like, if I walked into a restaurant or a bar or something, they're playing Pearl Jam, I could be madder. They could be playing something a lot worse than Pearl Jam.
Any country music whatsoever.
Around here, that's probably all you're going to hear. But
this is what it is. PR songs are out of the way, so what did we do in the gym this week?
What did we do? Man, you know, I don't even remember the gym this week. I'm going to be honest with you. Like,
mine was very up and down.
I honest to God don't remember anything this week that I did. Like, nothing stands out. It feels like it was just a blur.
That's good. That means it got done.
But nothing, well,
you know, you're in prep. I mean, it's going to have peaks and valleys now. You know
right.
I mean?
Nothing was up here. Was last week the week that we went to?
Sunday, we went to
the garage?
The garage, which would have been day one for you and day 6 for me. So it was me ending a week and you starting one.
Yeah. So I guess that's, I don't know if I talked about that last week or not.
I think we
feel
did
like it did.
Because we talked about the adjustments Joe made on your squats.
Yeah.
The only fly and stuff.
So the only real other day I had a reasonable pump day. Day 2 and day 4 were reasonable pump days. Nothing was crazy. And then my deadlift day, I don't know.
I feel like me and you discussed it, but now I feel like I'm drawing a blank on it too. It's all about some power output, right?
Yeah. So we were focusing on power.
Maximal.
Yeah. So there was a lot of like me just mentally trying to push. I had this problem, and I don't know why, and it's shown up in the past, where my first rep is slower than my second rep.
That's
almost every time. So we were trying to like mentally break through from that, and I finally did on the last set. And I was only working with like 480 or 475 or something like that. It wasn't heavy. So it was just kind of like trying to mentally break free from that power.
Yeah,
outfit.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes with that power, I was talking about power outfit on deadlift. I know it's mental because the first lift, you're not sure how it's going to feel. On the second lift, you already know, so you can like fucking. I was like, the first lick was easy, so the second rep, like,
right?
I ain't worried about this shit no more. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not that this past week. It wasn't that for me. I'm starting to remember as I talked about it. It was more that I was feeling pain in my knees, and this is just like a common thing for me is knee pain. But I was feeling pain in my knees and maybe my elbows too. It may have been just like overall joint pain. So I was like really like nervous about trying to just rip it off the ground, and like it just
put power in it.
Yeah. But once the first rep was over, I was like, okay, my CNS has adapted and I can just pull the second one so much faster. By the end of it, I was mentally just so frustrated. I was like, I'm just going to like pull like I did the second time, but the first time.
Yeah.
And it went. Yeah. It was just like a mental switch was flipped, because I realized the pain doesn't change whether I'm lifting this or not. So it's not going to hurt.
Right.
But I was just, in the back of my mind, I was like, if I go too fast, I might hurt myself, might hurt my knees, hurt my elbows, whatever. But it never did. So it just took that eventuality of it's not going to hurt. So why are you not putting everything you have into these? And finally I did it. I think we did 1 or 2 reps at like 505 or something, just to kind of like, so I could pull something over 500 for my mental health, basically, because I was like, if I'm pulling sub 500 5 weeks out, that's kind of bad.
Yeah.
Like,
it is what it is, especially for somebody that's about to pull 700. Like, you need some mental, like.
Yeah, I need some wins.
Yeah.
I need some reassurance.
Yeah, that's a good.
But we're still, next week is 5 weeks out.
Collecting wins is a big part of it. I mean, it is. And I feel like I collected a few of it too this week. I had an up and down week. Sunday was my day 6. I think we may have talked about it on the podcast. I had struggles with squats and hip pain. Kind of discovered that was related to belt tightness. Belt's way too fucking tight. So I ordered a new belt, did the rest of my week beltless. It went fucking great. Hit 355 for a triple on close grip, which is that's nearly a PR triple. I hit 375 in prep for a triple with a regular grip. So we're getting pretty fucking strong. For sure. My PR triple on close grip was like 20 pounds heavier than my programmed triple on regular. So it's fine. I gave myself some leeway, and if it feels good, go get it on close grip day. So that's what I'm doing. You know what I mean? If it feels good, I'm going to get it. If it's not, I'll hang around 225 and get the work done. You know what I mean? It's fair, whatever. But 355 went for a triple. SSBs went pretty well. Did them beltless. I did 345 or 350 for a beltless triple, which is ridiculous saying that my close grip bench press was stronger, but that's just where I'm at right now.
Right.
And then everything else went well until yesterday. Did all it's my lightweight deadlift week, so I think I had 365 for 10 doubles every minute on the minute. Those went fine. I had some pause low bar, and I said I pulled a muscle, but really I caught a cramp in my mid back on my last set. And I only say that now because I'm 100% fine.
Right. And it was
today,
just yesterday.
And it was just yesterday. So hydration definitely could have been an issue. The fact that I was rushed because we had the baby shower yesterday. Could have been an issue. There's a lot of things that went in that. And also, I'm just not used to squatting low bar without a belt.
Yeah.
Just is what it is. I'm much more likely to front squat or SSB squat without a belt. And I do that pretty frequently. So, unfamiliarity. It just is what it is. Got a little bent over. And I just called it because I had enough volume at that point to get the stimulus I needed, and there was no reason to risk it cramping more or hurting it more for 20 or 30 more pounds. So it just was what it was. But I think I'm fine. I think I'll be fine for it's a low week for me on squats and a high week on deadlift. So I think by the time I deadlift Saturday or Sunday,
it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll be 100% fine. I think I got 500 for a double Saturday or Sunday. So, and I pulled with you the other day. I pulled 480 for a really easy double, and my finger's still fucked up.
Yeah.
So, half a grip on one hand, and I'm still pulling PR weights for doubles, beltless PR weights for doubles. So, I ain't worried about it.
Yeah. So. Biggest takeaway from that is no reason to get hurt during the off season.
No reason to be hurt ever, really.
I mean, true.
I mean, you're going to get tendonitis and shit's going to creep up in prep. That's just, that's probably what you're experiencing in your knees and elbows right now. Yeah. It just is what it is. But yeah, there's no reason to get hurt. I mean, and honestly, I'm not 100% sure a belt would have made the difference on that squat yesterday. I think I just did a shitty job hydrating. I drank for really the only time I'm drinking most of the time now is when I'm here. And I have drank for 3 days in a row now. I drank Friday night. Underhydrated Saturday morning. Went and deadlifted and squatted. Hurt myself a little bit. Drank again yesterday afternoon. Drinking again tonight. So y'all be careful with that. That's all I got to say.
Just chug a gallon of water. You'll be fine. And just pee it all out.
Make sure your water's in you. Yep, absolutely. And should go without saying, too, you're experiencing this with Joe right now. I'm a big proponent of somewhere within your gallon needs to have, I know Joe doesn't like this, but I will do at least 1 quart of my gallon that's half Powerade, zero, and half water.
Okay.
That's important. And there's better electrolyte supplements out there. I do use Liquid IV a lot. I use Drip Drops a lot. Nathan used LMNT. But I would say if you're an athlete, a certain portion of your water should have some type of electrolyte supplement in it.
No, I think that's totally fair. And
even if you're eating enough salt.
Just to clarify about what you said, Joe doesn't necessarily dislike Gatorade. He just thinks there are better options.
There's better options. And there for sure are better options.
Right. But Gatorade is easily accessible, so that's why people go.
Yeah, and if you didn't know this too, Powerade doesn't yet, but Gatorade specifically, you could also do BioLights are pretty good, but Gatorade specifically has an electrolyte supplement now.
Yeah. That's
probably a little bit better than Gatorade or Powerade by itself.
Is it? It comes pre-mixed in a bottle.
Yeah, it's called Gatorlight. That's what it's named. But you could probably do one of those and be better off than a Powerade or a Gatorade.
Right.
But salt's not the only electrolyte, as Joe's point about this. You also need magnesium, potassium, things like that, and not just sodium. So, and also sodium does drive your blood pressure up. So if you're getting your electrolytes from other sources, especially when you're on gear, it could be a little bit healthier to get those from mainly potassium or magnesium or something like that, not just from salt. So,
yeah, for sure.
I'm not sure if that's a consideration Joe's making for you or not, but you need a wide variety of electrolytes and not just salt, is my point. Yeah. So,
absolutely.
It is what it is.
I guess that kind of...
The rant before the rant?
Well, I don't know if the topic is really a rant, but it's more of just like something I think we both have kind of like started to develop more as we've gotten into the sport. We've talked about it before, how the more we train, the more we understand about powerlifting, the more we train like bodybuilders, stuff like that. But the topic of the day is more about bringing athleticism to powerlifters. So there's this big stigma, right, about the fat powerlifters, right? Yeah. They're out of shape, but they're strong, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot more knowledge now and a lot better athletes in the sport who are just destroying the old records of yesteryear.
Because they're fucking athletes.
Because they're training like athletes as opposed to drinking, eating cheeseburgers, and smoking cigarettes in between.
Yeah, I do. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is, and people are gonna get pissed off about this. I really don't give a fuck. The fat powerlifter thing really was perpetuated by 20 years of multiply dominating the sport, and I genuinely fucking believe that. Mass does move mass, but specifically muscle mass moves mass.
Right.
And being fat is not the only thing to it.
Right.
I would say that maximizing your weight class is more important than just being big. And to maximize a weight class, you have to be as reduced in body fat as possible and as high in muscle mass as possible.
Right.
And there's quite a bit of wisdom to that. And that's what Joe's the first person that I remember posting about. If you are this tall, you should probably be competing in this weight class, ideally, if you wanted to be on a professional level.
Right.
But what Joe didn't say is, if you're 6'3", you should be a 308. But he didn't say you have to be a fat you need to be a fat 308.
Right.
It needs to be as much muscle mass as possible within 308, and that inherently is going to mean a reduced body fat percentage.
Right.
To maximize, I'm a big man. I'm 6'2". I'm not 6'3". But I'm a big man, so for me to be as good as I can in the 308 weight class, I need to be as muscular as I can be and as lean as I can be.
Right.
That leads us into this conversation of athleticism. And a point I made a couple of weeks ago, the first thing that comes to mind with athleticism is balance. That means unilateral strength. How much you can lift with one leg, one arm, those kind of things, and how closely your left matches your right.
We're not talking about Joel Seedman shit.
No,
where you're balancing on a fucking yoga ball.
We're talking about is your 10 rep max leg extension the same on your left as it is on your right?
Right.
Is your maximum your 10 rep max tricep push down the same on your left as how closely are you balanced between limbs, basically?
Right.
And then actual balance does come into play, but not like he's talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're not talking about like training specifically balance. It's more like, well, maybe to an extent, but not to an extreme, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Joe has me doing like quadruped rows, which is about having a balanced core while you're rowing. So you're activating your back muscles while you're in a position that is really like, the first time I did it, I felt really awkward and
You're
weird.
basically in a bird dog doing a row.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there is something to gain from that, but it's not taken to an extreme.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the point.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that type of balance comes what we're looking for as powerlifters is core stability, and that's fucking huge. So I made a point a couple of weeks ago that the more I know about powerlifting, the more I wish I would have had a bodybuilding background and not a CrossFit background, and largely that's because of balance. Like we do more unilateral movement in bodybuilding than we did in CrossFit.
Right.
That being said, you learned this with Joe too. There is a time and a place for actual athletic movement like you would get from CrossFit. Anything that requires explosive hips, you've done slam balls, you've done box jumps, stuff like that. There is absolutely something to that in the development of a powerlifter and the athleticism of a powerlifter.
Right, because you're focusing on, like we were talking about earlier, power output. Like, because if you're in the hole on a squat and you're putting everything you got and you're just sitting there shaking and you're moving slowly, that's inefficient. Yeah. So you're wasting energy, where if you had the ability to have more power output at the bottom of a squat or at the bottom of a deadlift, you'd be able to recruit your muscle fibers better, right?
Yep. And recruit them faster.
Right.
Which is going to go into my next point. Most of us know as athletes, and this is pretty common knowledge. I don't feel like I'm talking over anybody's head. There are two types of muscle fiber. There are type 1, which is your slow, we need to do this for a long time muscle fiber. Think about a marathon runner. Their legs are going to be more adapted to type 1 muscle fiber than they are type 2. And type 2 is anaerobic capacity, basically. It's we need to do this and we need to do it quickly. But what a lot of people don't know is that there's another subsect of type 2. It's called type 2X, type 2A, depending on what literature you read. But type 2X muscle fiber is specifically explosive power. So when you think about explosive power, what immediately comes to mind for me is a common one that I've talked about a lot is football. How fast can you get off a line? How fast can you get out of an athletic position and into a full sprint? How fast you can change directions? How fast you can do a lot of those things, right? That's top 2X muscle fiber. We do train that as powerlifters, but not as well as we could if we were to use jumps, specifically box jumps, broad jumps, standing verticals, stuff like that. Top 2X muscle fiber really, really likes that type of stuff, like instant, like all the power's made now.
Yep.
And it's underutilized in the powerlifting community because that's basically your ability to channel force in an instant.
Right. Which is what you need.
That is something that has to be physically and physiologically trained. It can't just be a decision to move faster. It has to be trained faster.
Right.
Which is the reason why Joe has you doing, part of the reason why Joe has you doing slam balls and box jumps and shit like that, is to recruit those muscles now, not 2 seconds after you think about it, but the moment it crosses your mind, it's done.
Yeah.
And that's explosiveness is incredibly, incredibly important to our sport. An example of this in myself, another thing we talked about last week is if I pull a deadlift or I hit a squat, I do it with authority, like tons of speed. My CrossFit background lent itself to a lot of top 2X muscle fiber development. So whatever I do, if I'm going to do it, I typically do it with a great deal of authority, and that is top 2X muscle fiber. Likewise, you do need regular top 2 muscle fiber because I'm also one to, if it doesn't go, it ain't going.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's where regular old top 2 muscle fiber would bail you out. And again, that also leads itself to that balance of bodybuilding and not necessarily just a straight athletic movement like a box jump, if that makes sense. So,
and then about 2, this may still be type 2. I'm not the best with anatomy, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. Basically getting to a point where let's say you're doing a bunch of reps, like Joe has me doing 30 seconds and then 5 reps. So those 5 reps are supposed to be like grindy type reps, right? So you're just putting everything you got, you're trying to force through. Like on a chest press, you're already torn up. Yeah. You have to force this through. That's also building those type 2 fibers.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Specifically top 2 and not top 2X at that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you swap to your 30-second drop set and it's, 50 to 100 pounds lighter or whatever the fuck it may be, those, I wouldn't say necessarily the duration of your 30-second set, but those first two or three reps is absolutely top 2X muscle development.
Right.
Because that's explosive. You eventually are going to start tapping into top 2, and then by the end of the set, maybe even top 1 muscle fibers. But those first initial explosive reps coming, at a much, much lighter weight, that's top 2 muscle, top 2X muscle fiber. And it's not alien to powerlifting. You think about conjugate, which I do think more and more, I think conjugate programs fucking work. But in terms of their speed days, I don't necessarily know that I agree with them in the way that they approach them anymore. But Louis Simmons knew that a long time ago. Like, if we can have 2 days, 1 lower, 1 upper, dedicated to explosive movement within these powerlifting things, we're going to develop top 2X muscle fiber at a higher capacity. And then that's going to make our 1 rep max go up. You know what I mean? So this is not new to powerlifting. I would say that the way Joe approaches it is much newer and fresher than conjugate does. Right. I don't even know. I think while it's new to powerlifting, it's stuff that we've known in sports training. Right. When you think about a basketball player, football player, or even a fighter or something like that. But it's interesting, and it's an untapped
resource.
Yeah, and I don't think enough powerlifters use it. I even dabbled a little bit with it. Ron knew that. Ron had a CrossFit background too. He was also a really fucking good athlete, as it turns out. He was a really good baseball player. So he kind of knew some of these things too. But, I did a lot of jumps and stuff on the front end of my prep. Didn't do it the last, 6 to 8 weeks. But initially in prep, I warmed up every squat day with box jumps. And it wasn't particularly a lot of them. It might be 10 sets of 3. It might be something like that.
But it's more to mimic the power output.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you think about a jump, an athletic position is bent knees and bent hips. It is the beginning of a hip hinge or a squat. Yeah. So it absolutely develops that type of power for sure. But I don't think we do enough of it as powerlifters.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a place for it, and we could afford to do more of it. And that's something that when I eventually leave Joe and start programming myself, that's something I'm going to focus on. Of course, I'm going to ask him, I'm going to do what do you think I can improve on? What would you like to see me do while I'm away, while I'm doing my off season stuff? And, but I do believe I'll just be doing athletic movements. I'll be doing a lot of jumps and,
we don't do enough twisting and turning as powerlifters.
I was going to say, I was like side lunges, I
started Cossack squats, which is a side lunge, but I mean, stuff like that makes you more durable too, quite a bit more durable.
Right.
And we miss that largely in a regular powerlifting program. Now, what Joe knows a lot more about than I do is Joe is also using these athletic endeavors to manipulate energy systems for you, which I know far less about.
Right.
In terms of the creatine systems and glycogen systems and stuff like that. And Joe knows more than I could even begin to. In fact, I can't even talk about it other than to give Joe credit for knowing about that. I mean, he really is training in the year 3000 when it comes to stuff like that. Because I've had 3 major names coach me in powerlifting, and none of them bring up energy system manipulation.
Yeah.
And they were very fucking good coaches. People that I would absolutely, 2 of the 3.
Right.
But Brandon and Ron in particular are 2 people I would send anybody, if you wanted to change from Joe tomorrow, I would tell you Brandon would be a good option.
Right.
I don't think he's necessarily better than Joe. Right. you know what I mean? But those are 2 people I trust wholeheartely and would send anybody to Ron and Brandon.
Right.
And those things were never fucking mentioned.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I know this guy knows more, but just based on what I know, though, training these athletic movements are definitely going to train top 2X muscle fibers and are definitely going to help you with explosive power through a lift.
And that being said, if you don't have a problem with explosive power, maybe you don't have to train these as much, but I still think you should consider keeping them in.
To that point, I mean, a lot of professional powerlifters now, what were they before?
They were athletes. They were playing baseball,
football, even bodybuilders. We talked about that. I mean, bodybuilders can lack mobility and stuff a lot of the time that regular athletes don't. But you're talking about people though with primarily athletic backgrounds, making the transition much better and much quicker than the rest of us.
Yeah.
Both of us were fucking nerds.
Yep.
We didn't do that. You know what I mean? And that probably has set us back some, to be honest with you. But you talk about somebody that's coming into the game with X amount of developed 2X muscle fiber, they're going to make some of these adaptations much more quickly than we have.
Yeah.
But it's necessary. And on top of that, apart from what Joe knows that I don't, you're also developing anaerobic capacity in terms of your VO2 max and stuff like that, which is going to help you recover between sets or even recover rep to rep intra-set, which is probably more important than recovery between. You know what I mean?
You think about your heart rate variability, like if you can keep a low heart rate through heavy sets,
a stressful set of 10,
you're going to be doing a lot better. You're not going to be gasping for air. You're going to be breathing fine. You're going to be it's not so bad. It's heavy, but it's not so bad because I can still breathe.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's one thing that I've been really trying to focus on is just just being able to breathe under stressful situations. I'm still not the best at it.
Sure.
Especially when stuff gets heavy and I'm doing several reps, I will still catch myself breathing heavy through my mouth. But if you can take the time to just nasal breathe and just even breathing out of your mouth, just as long as you can, there's something about, and I can't remember specifics. There's something about you get more volume when you breathe in through your mouth, but the way it translates into your body is worse than breathing through your nose.
Sure.
I can't remember the specifics, like I said, but there is some science about it. And if you look it up, you'll get all the science.
No, that's
about
absolutely scientific. And I don't know the studies either or the exact science behind it, but breathing through your nose is more efficient than breathing through your mouth in terms of recovery and quality of air and stuff like that. Part of it's just our noses are a natural filter, so you're probably getting more a more pure form of what you need than you are if you're breathing through your mouth.
Yeah, and the reason why we choose to breathe through our mouth is just a volume-based reaction. Yeah,
absolutely. You want somebody's having a panic attack and you're wanting them to control their breathing. What do you tell them?
Yeah. Deep breath.
In your nose, out your mouth.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, very, very common practice in terms of managing anxiety. And there's a reason that works, because anxiety, even though it's triggered by, mental things and stuff like that, is very much a physical manifestation of stress. And managing that stress is largely going to be putting oxygen where it belongs. Because an anxiety attack is a physical, but just because it's a physical manifestation of something that's happened to you mentally does not mean there's not physical ramifications for it. And in terms of the actual physiological outcome of a panic attack versus a working set on squats, it's pretty much the fucking same.
Yeah.
In terms of how it's going to affect you aerobically and anaerobically.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, it stands to reason, this is layman's knowledge. This is not scientific or anything. It stands to reason that if it's better there, it has to be better here. So it's pretty simple. Now, to push this conversation down the road a little bit, something I agreed with in CrossFit is when you go to your CrossFit level 1, one of the things they talk about is athleticism is a balance of aerobic capacity, anaerobic capacity, mobility, strength, power, and balance. There may be one or two other things in there, but largely you have basically athleticism. Their view on that is athleticism is where those things meet. I agree with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I absolutely 100% agree with that. I've made this comparison a million times before. When you think of an athlete here in America, you think of one of three people. You think of a fighter, a football player, or a basketball player most of the time. Soccer's getting larger and larger, and that they may check some of those boxes. I don't think they check the same boxes those three do, though.
Maybe not so much from a strength perspective. Their legs have to be strong to kick.
Basically, and I don't know that I 100% agree with this, but basically CrossFit says if you don't have a little bit of all these things, you can be better here, better there. But if you don't have a little bit of all these qualities, are you really an athlete?
Right.
And I think it's a good question in powerlifting, because everybody talks about being bigger and stronger, but nobody talks about mobility is going to lend itself to a longer career, lend itself to less injuries and stuff like that. Nobody talks about anaerobic and aerobic capacity are going to allow you to breathe through sets better, and allow you to do more work, handle stress better. Power and strength should be fucking obvious in powerlifting, right? But athleticism, if athleticism is where all these things meet, then we should be striving to meet as many of those expectations as we can. And I think what Joe has done, his lifters, and he has some really big name lifters. Jake has probably done this with him, but they have manipulated all those factors and put them and channeled them toward powerlifting, and they have essentially made a better powerlifter because of it. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot to be said. We just don't put enough. We don't put enough priority on work capacity. I don't put enough priority on work capacity. But if work capacity goes up, meaning your aerobic and anaerobic capacity, means we can do more sets, means we're better practice, means we're more adapted to more volume, which means we're better adapted to a 1 rep max.
Right, because you think about this, if you can breathe through sets better, and you can breathe through reps better,
your rep maxes go up.
Right, because if you can do more reps in a set because you are calm and you're able to breathe through it, there's not as much stress. Your body's going to handle it better.
Sure,
like stress is going to absolutely fuck you up.
Absolutely.
Like, especially if you're like sitting there. If you're stressed out and you're breathing hard and you're standing there under the weight longer, it's going to affect your CNS. It's going to affect your fatigue.
Joey, are you listening to this?
I was actually thinking about him when I said this, but it really will, because you think about it, that is just load you are standing under for a longer period of time while you're trying to catch your breath. So if you can move from rep to rep better, it's safe to say that you can get more reps, more volume. You will get more hypertrophy out of it, more training, more strength. You go to do your 1 rep max, you're probably not going to be one of the guys who's like you finish a rep, you got to go sit down and breathe and like hunch over because you're like dying.
Yeah. There's never been a time in my lifting career, even before I knew the things that we're talking about right now, where if I was better at a set of 10, that a 1 rep max intimidated me more.
Right.
I have never been more intimidated by 1 rep max than I am by a set of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. Even if it's weight I've not done before. You know, if it's a true 1 rep max, I would rather squat that 1 rep max than I had a set of 10 all day long.
Mm-hmm.
All day long. It stands to reason that it shifts your mental, and we knew this from squats and milk messing around with, early on. But if you can tolerate a fucking set of 20, mentally a set of 5,
it's like nothing.
It's like fucking nothing. Like, listen, dude, it can be my 5 rep max now. I don't give a fuck. Like, load it up. Like, as long as I don't have to do 20, it's fine. So, like, apart from all the scientific reasons from this, it does change you mentally and change your attitude toward our sport.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, 1 rep maxes are going to be intimidating sometimes. It just is what it is. But if you've spent weeks and weeks and weeks in prep doing things from, 2 to 10 reps that make you fucking uncomfortable physically, that 1 rep max is a lot harder. All of a sudden, you feel like when you get to that point, the work is done.
Yeah.
You're just ready to squat it and get it out of the way. Like, so apart from all the scientific reasons, it does have some like pretty profound mental effect on how you view the sport. It absolutely does. Like, fuck, after finishing the squats and milk, I was like, I feel like I can do anything for 1.
Yeah.
Just don't make me squat another 20. Right? Like, it is what it is.
I mean, the very first time I did squats and milk, I think I came out like 40 pounds ahead on my 1 rep max, like just from squats and milk.
Yeah.
And that was just me, like literally I did squats and milk and I was like, I'm going to test my 1 rep max and see what happens. And I put on 40 pounds on my squat.
Not even adapted. Not even CNS adapted to a new 1 rep max. He's like, fuck, I can do anything one time. Put that shit on there.
Yeah, we just loaded up like 465 or something. And it was just like, yeah, I got this. It's just 1 rep. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like I can work through anything.
I mean, mentally it changed him, but also, I mean, the way your body perceived that weight, it's not near, suddenly that 1 rep max isn't near as stressful.
Yeah.
Thank God. Right? but like suddenly it's not near as stressful. Like, I know how bad I felt after a set of 20 at 315.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just give me the 1. Please, all day.
You get to that point where what it comes back to that type 2 muscle fiber, because like you get that grind at the end.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You're just like forcing everything that you got into these last couple reps. So you get that grind, and grinding through like the last 5 reps of a 20 rep squat is like, it feels like you're squatting like 400, 500 pounds every single
rep.
time.
Yeah. And it's half that. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. And I'm not necessarily condoning everybody should do 20 rep sets all the time. And in fact, after you get to a certain strength level, and we learn this, I learned this the hard way. You learned this from me telling you. I think when you did it the second time, I was like, this is the last time you're going to be able to do this and it be fruitful.
Yeah.
Because you're just not going to be able to tolerate. You're not going to be able to tolerate a set of 20 at 405 3 weeks in a row. It's just not going to fucking happen. Not even 2 weeks, not even 3 weeks in a row, but 3 days in a row. You know what I mean? You're not going to do this anymore. It's not possible for you to do this anymore.
At that point, it gets to a point where you have to train to be able to do a 20 rep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that. What's Tom Platt's record? It's like 25
at 525 or 5.
It's something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Joe broke it, did he?
He did not.
He did not.
He did not break it. But Matt Winning matched it, but they all called him on depth for it because he's a West Side squatter. So
yeah, very, very vertical shins. Very it is what it is.
Just his hips. They didn't. They all said Tom did it deeper, so they didn't give it to him or whatever. It's really not like an actual record. It's more just like a.
It's almost, for these professionals, it's almost like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. But like, nevertheless, though, like, if you increase your ability to handle volume, your capacity for 1 is just going to go up. That's all there is to it. I mean, but achieving that balance, I just don't know as powerlifters, I don't think most of us take into account anything beyond the strength and the power aspect. we really should be taking those things into account. I mean, that's what the whole conversation is about, right?
Yeah.
So,
and there's a lot of stuff that you can do just to, like, as far as like aerobic, anaerobic, you can do sprints, you can do assault bike sprints, just doing more walking.
Even just walking on the treadmill, like even list cardio helps with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be challenging your anaerobic capacity. Steady state's fine. Yeah. And it's honestly fine for steady state cardio. Low intensity steady state cardio can reduce your cholesterol. It can give you a lower resting heart rate. All those things are going to be indicative of you being able to recover better between sets. I would say that training your anaerobic capacity is going to be better for you intra-set. But so there's reason for both automatically, like talking about it now. So, I mean, I do remember, like, when I was doing CrossFit regularly, I could handle a lot more volume, just stupid amounts of volume, because I could breathe through it. Can't do that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, part of it's because I'm stronger. The other part of it's because I'm 280 versus 220. You know what I mean? But I mean, there's a reason to train every one of these things, and we just don't do enough of it as powerlifters. So,
but just going back to the weight thing. If you were like, you're saying like you could breathe better at 220, but if you were a lean 270, I feel like you would probably still breathe through it just fine. Like if you
absolutely.
were like
I'm not
9% or something like that.
The good thing about, I'll tell you, the good thing about anaerobic and aerobic capacity is your lungs develop faster than anything else in your body. This is something that you could have, not necessarily at an elite level, but you could have at a vastly improved level at just like 6 weeks.
Right.
There's a reason why sedentary people, I've used this example a ton, can use an app like Couch to 5K and go from sitting on their ass to running 3.2 miles unbroken in 6 weeks. It's because that develops a lot faster than strength does. So, like, it takes, that's another thing that's ridiculous for us as powerlifters for not training these things, because it's a pretty minimal investment for incredibly large. It has an incredibly large return on investment for minimal effort.
Right.
Like for Austin now, like I have simply put 10 minutes of whatever type of cardio he wants to do at the beginning of every one of his workouts. Austin is trying to cut, but Austin's a very, very strong individual. He's got his diet right and stuff like that now. It's not affecting his lifts very much at all. Yeah. When I was doing that regularly, I felt like I moved better the first 2 or 3 sets that I typically do. I don't know how you feel, but a lot of times as a powerlifter, I feel like my first set's my worst set. Usually, after I get out of my way, I'm a little bit more warmed up and stuff like that. That 10 minutes of some type of steady state cardio got my body temperature up, and I was a lot more loose and a lot more. I just felt better going into that first set, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, like, I mean, it can be as simple as you're just going to warm up. You know, if you don't want to stay on a treadmill for 10 minutes, you can do something faster paced for 5 minutes. Right. It's fine. 5 minutes on a rower or on a assault bike, like you're talking about, like, might go a long way.
Even if you want to be on the treadmill and just jog for 5 minutes. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's still going to be good enough. Yeah, if it's just like something you want to speed it up, be quicker, whatever.
Yeah, but you're talking about a pretty minimal investment for a very, very large return on that investment. So it's really a wonder we didn't do more of it. But again, this isn't new to powerlifting. Point back to, I don't know, 1 time a week, I don't believe that was enough. But point back to Westside and the 1 day a week of GPP work, whether it be sled drags or developing some type of anaerobic capacity, though. I mean, right.
Well, didn't they like, it was sled on push days or sled on pull days or something like that? Didn't they have some sort of...
Yeah, they had some type of system, like most people do. I've seen mostly... I think what I've seen from conjugate programming is GPPs on an off day, because it was a 4-day program. You had max upper, max lower, dynamic upper, dynamic lower, and then on a 5th day, you had some type of GPP work. I'm not sure that's going to be. It would probably help you tremendously still, but I'm still not sure that's going to be. I don't know that's going to be quite the same effect as doing a little bit every day. If that makes sense. So.
And that's something with Joe's programming. He does the 10 minutes cardio, and then we do however much GPP. Like it's like unilateral movement usually. Yeah. Like one day it's like a circuit, and it's tempo squats, hip abduction, hip glute bridges. I'm sorry, with a hip circle.
Yeah.
And then I do reverse lunges and lat prayers. So we're just doing a whole bunch of movement and just like basic stuff.
Yeah.
Like just getting warmed up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that has gone a long way. Like one day it's a shit ton of reverse lunges.
Yeah.
Like just unilateral movement, just basic stuff, getting
It's also, I'll tell you this as a power lifter too, this is undervalued. That stuff, warm up, I don't necessarily consider on program. I mean, it's programmed in there for a reason. You should absolutely be doing your warm up, but they're not counting that toward your daily volume, if that makes sense. That's a cheap way to drive your volume up or even to correct a weakness.
Yeah.
Like if you have a reverse lunge is really, really glute dominant because you tend to have a more vertical shin than you do in a forward lunge. Forward lunge is a little bit more quad dominant for that reason, right? But like if you have, we know, Joe knows that you have a weak glute, right? Like there's a reason you're doing reverse lunges.
Yep.
So in your warm up, you're doing these reverse lunges, but that's an easy way for him to train that quality out of you without taxing or having to pay much mind to it in your actual generalized programming, if that makes sense. So like there's value in that too. You don't feel like you have time to work every muscle group that you need to get better as a power lifter. Throw that muscle group in your warm up.
Yeah.
Do some glute bridges from reverse lunges.
Yep.
Do some fucking pec flies or whatever it may be that you're trying to
hamstring curls.
Yeah, whatever you're trying to do to bring up. Like it's not to say that you shouldn't do it a little heavier and a little bit more aggressive in your programming, but like you do that daily, you're going to develop some work capacity and some strength in those muscles that maybe you didn't have before. So with a lot less investment in terms of time.
Yeah.
So most of us are going to read a warm up like shit. This is something I need to do quick because I have all this other shit to do. So there's some power in that too. Like
it is kind of hard to do some of his warm-ups quick, though. I will say this, at least as far as Joe is concerned. Some of his warm-ups take me like 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Just like all of it together.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I'm
it's
sure
a lot.
it is.
But I've gained an amount of, capacity by doing it.
Yeah, and also some respect for a warm-up, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure you're learning the power of a good warm-up now.
Yeah.
I know better. I'm still very much this way, but me and you have always traditionally been whatever movement we're doing that day. We're doing deadlifts. Well, we're gonna do 10 at 135. We're gonna do 5 at 225, a double at 315, and then
singles
all the way up to our working set, and then we'll do whatever we need, right? But like that really isn't the best way it could be done either. Another thing Joe's doing, not only is he training weaknesses in your warm up, but he's also specifically isolating movements you're going to be actively using.
Yep.
Muscle groups. You mentioned lat prayers, and abduction is typically part of your warm up. Like, well, if you're deadlifting, you're going to use a lot of lat and you're going to use a lot of butt. There's a reason why he's priming those muscles for the work that's being done that day. So there is and it also, that helps with mind to muscle connection. Mind to muscle connection is probably going to be easier to achieve in a lat prayer than it is in the deadlift.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a little bit more of your lats and what they're doing prior to deadlifting, you're more likely to be able to channel that when you actually get to your working exercises.
Absolutely.
So, a lot of power in that. Smart man.
He is. He's been a blessing to have. We're gonna have him next week.
Knock on wood.
Well, as long as nothing gets messed up. Yeah, next week, 30th. That'll be fun. I don't know. Did you have anything else you wanted to bring up on that? I think we had a pretty good discussion.
I think my ask of powerlifters listening is to be more open-minded. My athletes are probably not going to have a choice. I feel like I've learned a lot from your experience with Joe and talking to Joe, and then also my experience with Ron. We're going to see more and more of this kind of stuff in our warm-ups, and we may see more and more of this stuff come up in the actual program.
Yeah. Definitely in off season. I think there's power in that in your off season, and just like focusing on, like with me, it's going to be focusing on power output.
Sure.
Because that's my biggest weakness right now, is that I just can't generate that force right now from my movements that I'm in. So I'm going to be doing a lot of jumps and a lot of slams and whatever, just any other thing he has advice on. I'm just going to do that.
I mentioned, I pull really, really fast on deadlift. That's because of my background with power cleans. You can't do that fucking slow.
Right.
I mean, I know, when you're initially coaching it, you coach slow to the top of the knee and all that stuff that you coach in a power clean. But when you actually get proficient at the movement, none of that stuff's necessarily, at least it's not visibly true anymore.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You're still pulling with quite a bit of authority and power. Like those things, that's stuff that I don't even do anymore, but has had a profound, long-lasting effect on the way I deadlift.
Yep.
Nathan is my witness. If that weight is going, it is going fast. And that's Austin's really good at that. Austin has a football background. I'm sure he did a lot of power cleans and stuff himself. If Austin is going to deadlift something, it is probably not going to be slow.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, there's a lot of, in myself and my athletes and stuff like that, and even and especially in you now, having trained with Joe, there is glaring examples of why this stuff's important.
Right.
So think about it.
We're thinking about it.
It is absolutely worth thinking about. You got dad jokes for us?
Yeah, I think so. Let me just pull up our old friend Dad Says Jokes. Let's see what we got. I believe I have some saved here somewhere. So, I had to fire the guy I hired to mow my lawn.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't cut it.
That one's pretty good and fairly obvious, I feel like.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Hey, what's big and white and can't climb trees?
What's that?
A refrigerator.
They definitely can't climb a tree.
That was so fucking bad.
So it's been 6 months since I joined the gym, and I haven't seen any progress. So tomorrow I'm going to go there in person and see what's really going on.
Oh, man, I'm sitting here scrolling. Can't find anything. Oh, I told this one to somebody the other day. My friend Tony asked me not to say his name backwards. I asked, why not?
That's pretty good. What did the Italian chef get sent to jail for?
What?
Too much assault.
I like that you did the hand movement with
I
that.
had to. If you didn't, then, I mean, the listeners can't really, but if you're watching, you saw the hand movement.
I accidentally took my cat's meds this morning. Don't ask me how.
Oof.
Ugh. Man.
I think I said that one last week, so I'm not going to say it. I think that's all I got saved for this week.
I think that's it. Yep.
Damn.
That's it.
That's it.
That's the whole thing, boys.
That's the whole thing.
And girls.
You know what? We never said our socials, so I guess we'll say our socials. And
Yeah, so you can find me at Coleman_barbell and him at Nathan Skedios and us at Sip and Rip It.
Mm-hmm.
You can rate us 5 stars on whatever you listen to, Spotify, Apple now. We're on Apple now.
It took a while. Some issues came up, but we're on there now.
We're on there. Yeah, give us a 5-star rating if you don't mind. And tune in because we got big guests coming up. We have Joe coming back. We have Tamara Gurley coming up in October. Hopefully we'll have Ron on sometime.
Yep.
And I got a couple of clients we might have on too. So on the in-between. So y'all, stay tuned.
Have to talk to Joey and Lance when they finish their meet.
I'd love to have Joey on, but I'd love to have Lance on because he has because I've honestly probably done too much shitting on vegan and vegetarian diets, but Lance has done really, really well and is now a trainer himself, which I'm really excited about because I really trust and believe in Lance's methodology and the things he believes in. But I would really like his perspective on what it takes. He has a very realistic expectation about what it takes to be a vegan and improve. He supplements really well. He eats really well. He does everything a little bit better than most people in my experience with his dietary restrictions. So I would love to have Lance's perspective on those things. We haven't visited, to that degree, we haven't visited diet in a while.
Yeah.
I do believe that he is a moral vegan, which I support more so than
a dietary
vegan. Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't think Lance is going to sit here and tell us, he goes out of his way to make sure he supplements the right thing. So I don't think he's going to fight us on the nutritional facts of it. You know what I mean? I think he's very, very much aware of those things. But I would love his perspective on vegan and vegetarian diets. And also just in lifting and stuff in general and what he's doing with his clients. And I would like to know specifically with Lance what he's doing for people that don't eat the way that he eats.
Right.
So it'd be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I think so too. I actually sent somebody his way last week.
You have the friend that's a vegan at work, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Lance would be a fucking great coach for him.
Yeah, I sent him that way, and he was impressed by the pricing of his coaching, and he was like, I think I'm going to do it. He talked to his wife. His wife said, yeah, you should do it. That seems like a really good deal. So
yeah, I think Lance would be a good coach for anybody, but especially in that situation because he can shed so much light on the rights and wrongs of it. So
absolutely. There's only so much you can say as someone who eats meat to a vegan.
Yeah, because we just don't live that lifestyle.
Right.
So, I mean,
I can offer all the advice one of the biggest reasons for us to eat meat is the efficiency of it. I mean, other than the fact that we like it. But
protein wise, it's incredibly efficient. And he, goes out of his way to make sure he hits better protein numbers than I do, and he's not touching beef. Right. So it's impressive. So
absolutely.
So look forward to those things. I think that's pretty much the end.
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's it. Bye, guys.